Hey, new friends from new places. This is Roxy Lee. You're listening to Many Faces, Many Places. Thanks for joining me today. At the time of this recording, it will have been about 6 months since I launched the podcast. I guess you can say 8 months since I actually started any work on it. It took me a while. It took me, I want to say, about a couple months to get my first 10 episodes started and ready and edited and ready to go for the initial launch, which I had October 21st of 2021. Thank you to everyone that was there for that. It was super exciting. Leading up to it, I honestly had no life. Okay. I really had no life. People would ask me, how's the podcast going? I would say, oh, it's going, but I just feel like a sedentary couch potato. Well, not exactly. I would either sit on a desk or stand on my standing desk, but I felt like I was a sedentary workaholic that was coming home every day after my regular job to work on my passion project, which is this show that you're listening to currently. And for the first 2 months, I really just didn't do anything else. I stopped going to the gym. I stopped doing any of my other hobbies like playing music, singing, and art. And I just put myself fully in producing this podcast for you guys to listen to. And I enjoyed it, but it was very much all consuming of my life. And I would come home from work and work on the podcast until 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock. And then I really had to go to sleep. But it's also because I just wanted to make sure I brought plenty of episodes out there for the launch. Before I wanted to make the podcast, I actually tried asking for advice from people that either do host a podcast of their own or something similar. And one of my friends connected me with Poonam Desai, who is my guest in episode 6 and 7 of season 1. So if you want to go back and listen to her episodes, she is just so accomplished and so wise. She's an author, and she did a IGTV series for a while that was similar to a podcast. I was put in contact with her and I called her one day, and she was so generous and nice to me with her time and shared with me some things she recommended. And one of those things is that she said to try to come out with at least 10 to 15 episodes at the launch so that people can see what you're all about, see the diversity of your guests and how interesting your episodes are, and to try to garner attention and people that want to subscribe to listening to your podcast. So that's exactly what I did. I did not launch the podcast until I knew I had at least 10 episodes, quality, informative, entertaining productions for you guys to listen to. So that is exactly what I did. And she actually did not really ever do a podcast. She just did IGTV because she said it was just easier that way. She didn't want to mess with the technical side of editing things. So she'd rather just pop on an IGTV, chat with someone, and there's your guest interview. And then she would upload that live. So that's a little different from what I'm doing. And then I know another local podcaster that has a podcast in my city. So I also reached out to him for a little bit of advice, just as far as like equipment and all of that. So him and his partner for the podcast actually have a studio. I don't have all that. So it's a little different for me. I'm just podcasting at home, which makes things convenient, but also a little bit limited as to what I could do. But I think I've been able to manage okay, don't you think? What do you think? Tell me your honest feedback, guys. It's been 6 months in of me podcasting at the time of this recording that you're listening to. And I hope you guys have enjoyed it so far. And I hope I can keep this going for as long as I can. Honestly, the hardest part of starting this podcast is, oh my God, coming up with the name. And you can kind of listen back to how I even started or why I even wanted to start this podcast from listening to episode 1, of course. And where you'll hear an origin story of me brainstorming about the podcast with my guest, Emily. She was not the first person that has told me that I should start a podcast. Although I am someone that is dangerous, when you get ideas into my head, then it's kind of like, oh, you should do this. And then I'm like, I will. What are you talking about? I am doing it. Like, it's done. I already decided to do it. Which gets me into trouble sometimes because I tend to overcommit and spread myself too thin. So this is also a balancing act of me trying not to overexert myself at something that is more of a hobby and I'm not making any money from, but also I do enjoy and I want to leave a legacy and make some creative outlet for myself to be passionate about and be creative and work on. That's something I can call my own and hopefully garner some type of community as well. But yes, the hardest part was choosing a name. It took me, I want to say 2 weeks just to come up with the name of the podcast because the premise is so wide and the possibilities are endless. I didn't want to come up with a name that was really limited. So that's why I called it Many Faces, Many Places. But it took a while to get there because there were a lot of other names I thought of that had already been taken. And actually, this name, something similar to it, was also taken. And when I tried to create a Gmail, the exact thing was taken. Hence why my email is manyfacesandplaces@gmail.com. If you ever want to reach out to me for business inquiries, it's a little different than the title of the podcast. I had to play with the words a little bit. Same thing with Instagram handles. It was a little hard to create something that wasn't already taken. Hence why my Instagram handle is MFMP pod and not Many Faces, Many Places, because that was already taken. So that's something that you will expect to run into if you are thinking about creating your own podcast. Do it soon before they take your name, okay? Because I did run into a little issue with that, but this one actually I was able to get fairly easily and claim the handles that I needed and the YouTube channel name and all of that pretty easily, that it was surprisingly not taken. Like all the variations of these words were not taken. So I think I got pretty lucky there. But if you think of something really general and not very unique, sorry to say, it's probably been taken. And those people are probably not doing anything with it now because you will find Instagram handles and YouTube channels that are now largely inactive, but they have the name that you want, which is really sad. And you wish you could just reach out to them and be like, hey, do you still want this? Like, can you delete your account so I can create a new page with the same name and I will actually be productive and put out content? But unfortunately, you can't just do that, or you can try, but they're not going to do anything about it, or they don't even check their messages, or they want to sell it to you. If you're even lucky, they probably just won't. If they're inactive, they probably just won't even read their messages. I will have to say that was the hardest part, but I just included everyone. Like Emily and Prunam were really great at giving me advice. Emily told me to talk about my podcast with people every day while I was brainstorming it, just so I can get a grasp of how I wanted the layout to look like. And you want your podcast to be organized and follow some type of structure so your listeners know what to expect and it's not just all over the place. I asked all my coworkers, I asked my family and friends about what they thought of different name options, and I would give them different name options and they would give me some more back. And eventually I came up with the bottom two options that were the contenders. And it came down to, you know what? It was really difficult because people had different opinions of what they like. Some people would like option one, some people would like option B, some people would give me a whole nother option. And I'm like, that's not helping. I'm trying to narrow it down, not add to the options. But it came down to this one because I think it was more available as far as the handles and everything for me to register for accounts. And it didn't sound too similar to other existing podcasts that were already out there. And I just like the ring of it and how it rhymes, and I can abbreviate it MFMP, and it just has a nice ring to it, and it encompasses pretty much anything really. So I'll never be limited to the topics. So if you are wanting to start a podcast, I highly recommend you take considerable time on deciding on the name. It's going to be something that you want to be proud of and you can use consistently for a long period of time. My good friend Valerie sent me a podcast that helped me out a lot before I created my podcast. When I told her I had the idea, she was like, oh, well, that's highly ambitious, but here, listen to this episode and get some tips from it. So you can hear from Valerie as well. She is in some of my recent episodes, and she led us through a bonus meditation episode that I hope you enjoyed. Anyway, she sent me a podcast that really helped me a lot at the beginning. And this is from the podcast Unconventional RD. She is also a registered dietitian. It's episode 29, titled My Thoughts After 6 Months of Podcasting. So she really goes into the full detail. If you're someone serious about wanting to start your own podcast, she gives you exactly the options of software and editing tools and websites and whatever you could think of. It was very comprehensive. So it helped me out a lot. And I took notes from this podcast of everything she said that I thought would benefit me. So if you're listening to this more of like, oh, let me just hear how Roxy's doing with this hobby of hers, then you probably don't need to. But if you're someone that's like, I'm actually thinking about doing it, is it even feasible? Let me see like what are the hard truths that I need to learn, or technical things that I should consider, and pricing of software and platforms, then definitely check out this episode from the Unconventional RD, episode 29. So I'm not going to repeat everything she said, obviously, but I'm going to share my part into it, and you can listen to her episode for more details. Okay, so for equipment, I just have my laptop. I have a Surface. It's been with me for several years and through my master's, maybe a little bit of college, but definitely it's been with me for maybe like 10 years. I had it first when it was new, so it's whenever that was. But yeah, it was definitely like 10 years ago. I've always been more of a Windows person, and everyone tells me that they like Macs, but I'm just not used to it. And they're really expensive, and I would have to buy a whole nother computer, which is what a MacBook is, probably like $1,000 at least. I already have my computer, my Surface Windows 10 computer. So why buy a new computer? And I just bought a house, as you have listened to a few episodes earlier. So I don't know when I will be upgrading, but my next upgrade, I will probably switch over to a Mac, but I'm going to miss my touch screen of the Surface, which there's no Macs that have touch screens. Can you believe that? I guess it's like like a company thing where I don't know if they're not allowed to, but it's like a strictly Windows computer thing. I feel like that most computers offer touch screen, but for some reason, not Macs. So that's one thing I will have to consider, because I do love my touch screen. I do have an iPad though. I've had an iPad for a long time, but as far as a full functioning computer, I'm used to Windows. So I have my laptop. I have a blue Snowball microphone, which you can get. I think I got mine on Amazon. It's not too expensive. Also a few years back, because I was making YouTube videos for dietitian related stuff, for nutrition related videos. And the channel is still there, actually, if you're interested to watch what I used to eat back in the day during my dietetic internship, and my advice about vegan nutrition and FAQs about nutrition topics. I have a few pretty cute, fun videos out there. So the channel for that is Roxy RD, which is ROXXIRD. I'm not really making stuff for nutrition content anymore. I'm mostly focusing on the podcast right now, and I kind of steered away from that creative career aspect of being a dietitian because I love my corporate clinical nutrition job. It's not exactly corporate, but it is a clinical hospital nutrition job. So I actually really enjoy my current job. So I stopped making nutrition YouTube videos, but they're still there if you want to look into them. So I still have my microphone from back in the day from college when I made those videos. So I just go ahead and use the same microphone for that. When I record video interviews with my guests, I do also use some lighting, which have the little light filter umbrellas attached to them. So I just put that into the long box that it came with, and I just fold the light stands up and unscrew the light bulbs every time I'm done using it. So it really doesn't take up too much space. I'm very minimal when it comes to my podcasting equipment. All of it fits into one little cardboard box. It's not little, but it is long. It's long enough to fit the stands. I do have a tripod also that I recently purchased to film in-person podcast interviews, like the one that I did with Pam for episodes 10 through 12. So that those were filmed in person because we live in the same city. But a lot of the times my guests live away from me. So we have to film through Zoom, and I will put the lighting on my face. Also, if I'm recording with a guest in person, I will put the lights shining toward us. So it's kind of a lot to think about because I'll show up and I'm like the interviewer, the crew, the entertainment, the lighting, the filmographer, the director, all in one, right? So I come and I set up my light stands, I set up the microphone, the computer to record, all of that, make sure the environment is quiet, turn off the heater and the AC. So recording in person really is difficult if you don't have a studio. Eventually, if I can have some type of home studio or rent out a space, that would be awesome, but I don't see that financially being feasible. So I will just record at people's homes or my home, or better yet, just leave it on Zoom and I don't have to set up any of the equipment and the tripod because it is a pain. I'm telling you, when you have to be the one worrying about all of that. It took me like at least half an hour just to set up all the equipment to film in person. So if you can stick to virtual recording, which I use Zoom, that would be your way to go, unless you can reserve a room in your house just for recording and you don't mind people coming over to your house and using that room to record because you already know you have things set up, then that's your other option to go as well. Or if you're recording by yourself, you don't want to do podcasts with guests, then it should be pretty easy for you to carve out a corner of your house or your room for all of your equipment. So like this, when I'm just recording by myself, it's super simple. I just plug in my microphone and I start talking into Zoom, and then I hit record and it saves me the video and the audio after. But if I'm doing a live filming at a person's house with the guest, then that's when it gets a little more difficult. And then you have to think about connection as well with Wi-Fi, even if you're recording on Zoom. Okay, so, but all that's to say you have different options. So depending on what you're trying to achieve. For the audio part, I use this website called Auphonic, AUPHONIC, and they give you 2 hours of free audio mastering where it makes the quality sound so much better. I can't say enough great things about this website, and it does it automatically, but only the first 2 hours of each month are free. So when I run out of room, I will use Audacity, AUDACITY, and that's another program you have to download onto your computer. It's not a website this time. And this is free, but you could use it unlimited, but it doesn't do everything automatically for you. So I will have to apply normalization to my audio to make everything sound the same level. Especially if I have a guest, it's really helpful to drag the audio file into Audacity so it normalizes it for me. And my volume sounds the same as the guest volume. There's a lot more you can do with it. You can also add EQ, which is equalization, which honestly, I don't really use because I've looked up guides on how to do it and like YouTube videos and articles, but it's so dependent on who the person is talking because our voices and registers are all different if it's a male voice or a female voice. There's different settings. You can drag the curve to make it go up and down to make your voice sound more cheerful or make your voice sound more, I don't know, muted or assertive. I don't know. It's actually really complicated and I've messed with it. It doesn't really achieve any significant results that I am looking for, or it'll make the voice sound more radio-like or more like you're listening to a recording and not listening to a person live. So I just don't use the EQ. But if anyone has good tips on something that just applies EQ automatically or a certain setting they like to use, let me know. You can drop me a voicemail at speakpipe, speakpipe.com/MFMP. Or if it's easier, you can go to my link tree, which is the link you'll find everything that I talk about, like my social medias, my YouTube channel, how to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, how to become a patron, how to drop me a voicemail. So that's going to be linktr.ee/many faces, many places. So yeah, if anyone has any audio editing tips other than the easy normalization that I applied, then let me know and I'll mess with it some more. But so far, that's what I've been doing. And I like how the sound sounds after I put the audio through one of these programs. Starting a podcast can feel overwhelming to say the least. I was there not too long ago. For example, did you know you need to pick a server to host and automatically update your podcast feed? Luckily, I found out about Buzzsprout at the perfect timing and have been loving it. So if you or someone you know is thinking about starting a podcast, look no further than Buzzsprout. Sign up using the link in the show notes to get started for free and see how you like it for yourself, and receive a $20 Amazon gift card after you upgrade to a paid plan. I do not use a website. A lot of articles you read about making a podcast, pretty much everyone recommends having a website to have a blog post for each episode so you can direct more traffic. And websites are a good place to put affiliate links as well. So you can link the podcast to the website and vice versa. But I just think it's too much trouble. Again, I've ran my nutrition blog in the past. I had a website that I paid for and it just didn't really do too much for me. And I ended up no longer paying for that website to keep it up with my recipes. I mean, things are still saved if I log into my account, but it's just not a public website anymore. From learning through that experience, I've decided not to invest in a special website for my podcast. Instead, I just use the link tree like I told you about earlier, which is even better in my opinion because you can link infinite amount of links on there instead of just one particular website. And I rely on the default, very simple standard website that is provided through my podcast host server, which is called Buzzsprout, BUZZSPROUT, which is $18 a month or $432 a year. If you are getting the creator plan, there's other two more expensive plans, but I just need the $18 a month one, which lets you upload, I believe it's 3 hours of content every month or every cycle, which is plenty for me since I put out 2 bi-weekly episodes every month. So Buzzsprout will give you a very standard website about your podcast and where to listen to it. But the cool thing is that it connects your podcast, which is your RSS feed, with all the different servers of, let's say, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Castbox. What's another one? Oh, Stitcher. So all the podcasting apps, you're not expected to have to upload to each and every single one. Instead, you upload the episode to Buzzsprout or your chosen podcast host server platform. There's other ones out there, but I did a full research on all of them. And I ended up choosing Buzzsprout because I felt like it met my needs the most. And it was very simple and user-friendly to use. What's really cool is you can make these things called audio sound bites from from the Buzzsprout website, or audiograms as they call it, where you can take a little clip, let's say 30 seconds up to, I think, 2 minutes of any episode. And it allows you to make a little artwork that has the waves of audio moving up and down when someone talks. And then you can share that on social media, and you can change the color and the text on those. So I really like that option. And Buzzsprout also gives you a affiliate hub, meaning it's a lot easier for you to find sponsors. So normally when you're starting out and you have a podcast, it takes you a while to build loyal listeners and a impressive enough number for you to pitch yourself to sponsors, like, let's say, Whole Foods, and say like, hey, I want to promote your company. I have so many thousand listeners every month. Will you be interested? And I can shout out your company for a fee per episode that your ad is in one of my episodes. So that's one type of sponsorship. And there's another type where it's called affiliate marketing, which they don't pay you anything up front, but they agree like, okay, if someone does use your link to purchase our product, then we'll give you like a 10% commission. Okay. So Buzzsprout does offer a lot of affiliate options where they have some automatic where you don't have to qualify. You don't have to prove yourself or pitch yourself to any company. It's just automatic for any of their creators to utilize and to add a little promo link to receive a little commission for any of their episodes. So you can find that in the monetization tab. They also have a sponsor page where it goes through this company called Podcorn, which is partnering with Buzzsprout to find you actual sponsors that are not just paying you affiliate commission, but they will take applications to find a show that is relevant to what they're selling. Let's say it's, I was looking through this and there was like so many options. There was like 80 different sponsor options. And the only thing is you have to meet their timeline. So it's a little more urgent and time sensitive. And you do have to kind of pitch yourself a little bit with these because they are choosing people. So you still have to apply. So it doesn't mean you're going to get it for sure. But the good thing is, a lot of these offers, they will pay you up front. They'll pay you, let's say, $50 or $100 to be included in one of your episodes. So I was on it one day and I found different examples. One was like a woodworking company or something where they would send you a product like a wood decoration or a woodworking tool, and you would review it and they would pay you, or you just get the free product. What else? There was like food companies. If you try their snacks, they'll pay you something. So those are different options that you can try to monetize your show. Okay. The next thing that I had to do was make a cover art. And this, I have to thank my dear, dear friend, one of my best friends, Michelle, so much. We've been friends since elementary school. I cannot believe it. She was my first friend since I came to the United States of America. I'm an immigrant, and we met in 3rd grade, and we've come such a long way, both of us. Life has changed so much since we were little, but we've always been really close friends. And she offered to help me with the podcast. I was really surprised. Like, I told her about my idea to start the podcast. I didn't expect to ask for help or anything, but she offered to help me. And I know she's always been super talented with artwork, and she used to also make little funny YouTube videos, and now she makes some music cover videos, and she's just really artistic and talented all around. And she's great with editing and technology. And I let her help me make my cover art, and she did a great job. She did it on Canva, and I just cannot be more happy about it and thankful. So yeah, utilize Canva for all your design needs. I also have a YouTube channel associated with the podcast. So because I like to be extra, right? Everyone knows that. I have to be extra and also do a YouTube channel with my podcast. So a lot of the times people don't recommend you to do videos if you are just wanting to have a podcast. have a podcast, just make it audio, strictly audio. But because, once again, either because I'm extra or because I'm resourceful and hate to let anything go to waste, I figured, well, if I'm going to be talking to the guests anyway on Zoom and they see them on video, why not just record the screen and then I can get videos out of it? So, like the Unconventional RD podcast I alluded to at the beginning, she recommended recording on Zoom and taking little video clips out of it so you can maybe later make YouTube clips or Instagram posts with those little videos. So that's what I do. I do upload the entire video to YouTube just so I can have it and it's already been done. Like, why not just something to have and save there? And then I also take little clips, like funny moments or fun parts, and put that into separate little short clips on YouTube. And now YouTube has this thing called YouTube Shorts, which is kind of like TikToks or Instagram Reels or Facebook Reel. And you can do little short 30-second, I think it's like 30-second or up to a minute short little videos on YouTube Shorts. So I do that. I do both types of little longer clips and I also do YouTube Shorts. But the YouTube component has been pretty fun. I don't think my podcast will be the same without it. If it was just the audio portion, I feel like people are really missing out on a lot on the guests, how they're talking, how we are communicating with each other, and our facial expressions and reactions. So I really highly encourage you to check out my YouTube channel. It's Many Faces, Many Places, all in one word, and try to make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button when you're there. So you just need to sign into a Google account and it'll let you subscribe to the YouTube channel. That would help me out so much. It's been really hard for me to get subscribers to YouTube, I feel like. And I feel like that's just a thing that people understand now. It's really hard to get anywhere on YouTube. I have to say it was definitely a lot easier back in the day when I was making nutrition videos. I would at least get like some views from people I didn't know. You know, my videos would come up on suggested videos or whatever, and I would at least have some views and some subscribers here and there. But a few years later, now I'm getting literally like one view on my videos, and that's my husband because he's a subscriber and it comes up on his and he actually watches them. And it's just like been honestly a little underwhelming, a lot underwhelming and disappointing. And I mean, the title like of this episode, like I want to share you my truth. I don't want to just keep saying like, oh, it's so great, have a podcast, whatever, just do it. But it really is tough. And especially on YouTube, I'm really feeling it because I'll have an upload and literally, I kid you not, I'll have one view or two views. And there's really no other way to explain it other than the fact that, like, I think everyone knows now, YouTube only promotes big YouTubers or videos that already have thousands, hundreds of thousands of views before they'll consider putting you as a recommended video on someone's queue or on what someone's watching for it to come up next or come up on a search result. So I've tried like literally searching my exact podcast title onto YouTube, and it is not the first result that comes out. Like, isn't that strange? Like, I type it out exactly, my channel name, and I'm still not the first result. So I still have to scroll to just find one of my videos. So even if someone is trying so hard to find a video directly, they may not find it because YouTube is promoting the higher watched videos because it generates more income, more ad revenue. So it's just like an uphill battle. And I hate to think of it like that, where I'm discouraging you to start a YouTube channel, but it really feels like that. There's really no other way to go around it, where I just feel like most of the YouTube channels that are doing good are already established, and it's really hard if you're up and coming. And yet people still make videos like that on YouTube. I mean, I still see it. They get suggested to me all the time where it's like Oh, I made my first 100,000 subscribers after 3 months of YouTubing, so they still have those videos out there. But I just don't see how it's happening, honestly. Like, I just can't do it. And YouTube is one of those things that's really exhausting. And I'm not someone to be promoting myself all the time and commenting on people's videos and trying to get them to come to watch my video and just commenting on big YouTubers videos and trying to get some attention and some likes on my comment that way so people can find me. I'm just not really good at that either. So that doesn't help, coupled with the fact that my videos just don't get any visibility. So YouTube, I have to say at the beginning, I didn't even really plan on doing it because I kind of expected that to be the result. But like I said, I still don't want to waste any content. And since it's already recorded, I might as well just post it. But it doesn't come without a cost. And that cost is time. Oh my God. Okay, so the audio portion of a podcast, totally easy, fine. It's totally fine. Do it. It won't take you that long, maybe 1 or 2 hours to edit the audio portion. But when you add in the video and you have to merge the two and you have to make sure they match each other and there's no weird, funny things going on in the video and there's no glitches and cutting out filler words manually, oh boy, I would say, if you were to ask, I would say it takes me about 8 to 12 hours to edit one episode. One episode. I know. You're probably thinking, what the hell are you doing with your life, Roxy? You're probably thinking, there's a world out there, Roxy. Go do something else with your life. 8 to 12 hours. Golly. Whew. But yeah, it's the sad truth. It takes a long time to edit. And I'm including time, for example, made on designing a thumbnail for the YouTube video and making a social media post that is referring to this episode or introducing a guest, writing the show notes. Honestly, it could probably even be more than that. I would say like minimum 6 hours per episode if I'm just doing the bare minimum. Like I'm recording the audio, I'm editing the video, I am adding a YouTube description, I'm uploading to Buzzsprout, I made a social media post for, I would say minimum, if I did it really fast and didn't worry too much about the details or try to remove filler words or watch out for coherence and just like upload it like that, it would take me 6 hours. Now, if I wanted to really be diligent about the quality of the content and special effects with the audio or making sure I have several posts to promote the episode and then additionally clip out those highlight clips that I referred to earlier, that itself would take more than 12 hours, all of that. I'm probably underestimating when I say 12 hours. It's probably closer to 14 to 16 because you have to wait for the video editor to save and publish a video. And then from there, you have to find the clips that you're looking for, that you want to highlight, because you don't want to just pick any part of the episode either. That's boring. You want to pick fun or juicy highlights from that episode. And then you have to crop that part out and then save the video again and upload it, make a description, create Patreon posts, create titles, write descriptions, add your tags, hashtags, set your publish dates, schedule dates, checking for errors, checking that your podcasts are linked correctly to the video, and then checking that your YouTube video is linked correctly to Buzzsprout. Adding in your advertisement for the sponsor. Okay. Making sure the link works, making sure the affiliate link works. Yeah. So that's just a few things. You see how tedious it is? So if you're not set on having video content, just don't do it. Learn from my mistake. Not that it's a mistake, because I'm happy to do it and I wouldn't have it anyway. Any other way, I would want the video anyway. But if you really don't care that much about the video content, maybe just like record a little bit of it, but the rest of it just depend on the audio portion of your podcast. It is a podcast after all. So, okay, most people are not watching podcasts on YouTube, but I have the clips mostly for social media promotion reasons and just to draw attention. Like, hey, listen to this clip. And if you like it, listen to the full episode. That's why I do it. But you totally don't have to do YouTube because as you can hear from my honest truth, it is difficult and with very little reward in sight. So something you want to make your job a little easier is to create an intro and outro videos that are the same for every episode. I just have 2 different alternate outros and I use Windows Movie Maker, which is just like the old school basic video editing system that comes with all Windows computers. But it's trustworthy and I know what I'm doing because I'm familiar with it before with using it and it hasn't changed much and I know all the functions and it's pretty straight and to the point. So that's what I use and it's free. My friend Michelle, who has helped me with a few of the videos, has been such a godsend, honestly. I'm so thankful that she has helped me with a few and did such a tremendous job on them. You can totally tell like they look professional and have all these whips and whistles on them and special effects and sound effects. She was using iMovie at the time, but she recently got Adobe Premiere Pro, which is kind of expensive, I think, the last time I looked into it, but it's only for Macs anyway, so I wouldn't be able to get it anyway. So she recently got that as a gift, and she's been using that on editing my videos and starting some of her own video projects coming up soon that she's going to be fully invested in doing for herself. So she's going to have to transition to fully pursuing her efforts there shortly, but she is using Adobe Premiere Pro, and unfortunately, it does not remove filler words. She thought there was an option that you can do it. If anyone knows, please send me a message or something to let me know. But as far as she knows, she wasn't able to remove filler words through that program, but it is still great for all-purpose video editing and got a lot more functions than the Windows Movie Maker for sure. So I guess you get what you pay for, right? But I think, speaking of that, I think I'm going to start paying for this program called Descript, which is used to remove filler words. And it also has some basic video editing functions. But what's really cool is it could edit the audio and the video at the same time versus a lot of podcasting editing software. You can only do the audio. And it's not really conducive to merging the two. So Descript is really cool because I could just drag in the video file and it will extract the words from there and create a transcript. I've been using the free version, but I'm out on my limit. So I'm going to have to upgrade to a paid version, which the cheapest option is $12 a month, which is $144 a year, which if that saves me like 4 to 5 hours of editing time, then that is so worth it. Okay. So I think I might just have to dish out some cash to get this program, which helps. It's like one of the only programs I found that successfully removes filler words automatically. And I can save the end file as an audio or a video, so that's not going to be a problem. And you can also even like select whole sentences or paragraphs in the video editor and remove it or put another picture or video to block that portion of your video. Like let's say you're doing something funny or with your face or something, then you can highlight that portion of speech and drag another video to cover it, like a little B-roll clip or something like that, which I haven't had to do, but there's that option. I hope you enjoyed this episode. For ways to support the podcast, please tap on the bio link in my Instagram page at MFMP pod. Consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/MFMP. In addition to helping me keep the show on air, you'll also receive access to exclusive content and other patron-only perks. Till next time.